monarch of mass, the genetic jackpot, Joe Coleman.
And over to my right, the hummus spread heartthrob, the quad of war, Idris Abraham.
And together, we are known as
Hello,
Beefcake, and you're listening to Nerd Radio.
Welcome back to Nerd Radio. We're on your social media, Nerd Radio 101, wherever you're getting your podcast as part of the Beatpot Studios Network. And, of course, you can watch us live on Twitch Wednesday afternoons as we put this show together, if you want to. Twitch.tv/CheckpointXP. James and Al Beck hanging out with me this week. You guys, you've played Resident Evil, like a Resident Evil game before.
Yeah, I played up to like the first 4 or so.
Yeah.
But I don't play far into them. Like the first 2, I've played the most. But
yeah.
They're too scary for me.
Right.
So I learned, like, why am I torturing myself playing these scary games just to have a conversation with friends to say, I played that.
I saw that.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there in my room or whatever, just terrified to walk down the hallway because I think, Mr. X or whatever they called him, the tyrant's going to pop through the wall and scare me.
What about you, Al? You played some of the original Resident Evils, right?
It's a big negative for me.
Really?
I've mentioned this on the show before. My entire Resident Evil experience in the video game world was when my brother rented the original PlayStation.
Right.
Rented Resident Evil. It was the first game, and I watched him play the game. He turned the corner and there was a zombie thing eating something, and I walked away.
And you were like, nope.
I've never been back.
Yeah, because I know neither one of you are big into the scary games, but as people that listen to just about any podcast I'm on understands or follows me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chizuk.
CHZUCK.
That's right. Part of the thing I love is spooky bullshit.
Yeah.
I'll hashtag spooky bullshit because I love it. And over the last couple of days, I tried out the demo on the PlayStation of Resident Evil Village. Capcom's done this thing with the last couple of Resident Evil demos, too, where you can play it for an hour, and then it locks itself off, and then you got to buy the game.
Interesting.
Which is fascinating to me because, it makes sense. After an hour, you're going to know whether or not you want this game.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they give you the best hour of the game, you're going to know whether or not you want to spend the money on the game.
That's what I was going to ask. Did they start you off at the beginning of the game? They're like, okay, timer starts now.
Well, the demo actually gives you 2 areas. It gives you the area that I believe is the very beginning of the game in the village, in like an Eastern European village. And then it gives you another area once you get past that, which is a castle that you can explore. This particular Resident Evil takes place in an Eastern European village with a castle. The character that you're playing is trying to get his daughter back from these people that have kidnapped her. And in the village...
Umbrella Corp?
There's some Umbrella Corp like Signa. I can't think of what the emblem is on some of the stuff. So a Resident Evil player is like, okay, Umbrella Corp's involved. There's something more going on here. But the villagers never mention the Umbrella Corp. The village part is interesting because you meet some people, and the zombies, if you will, look more like werewolves. Like they're very fuzzy, and they're using like giant machetes to cut into you.
Okay.
As you try and shoot them in the face and get away from them.
See, I was scared of zombies eating like dead people. Now he's got to worry about werewolves with guns.
Right. Now you've got to deal with werewolves.
No, I don't have to worry about any of it. This will now be a part of my experience in life.
But once you do get out of the village and into the castles, when you meet the actual villains of the piece, which are this giant vampire lady.
Oh, werewolves with machetes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And her 3 daughters, which I believe all of them are supposed to be vampires. Like the giant lady looks like she's about 9 feet tall. She looks like Dave Hunter.
This is the one that everybody's got like the big boner over, right? This like scary lady they want to like. I think somebody in the chat already said something inappropriate they want to done that I don't want to repeat.
Yeah, she's wearing a big sun hat and she's very pale. Yeah, she's very charismatic.
They want to like lick her boots and stuff.
Absolutely, drinking blood. And then the castle part in the demo, you get to fight one of her daughters, which when she gets near you, will jump on and bite you. Okay. And then try and suck your blood. But she also turns into a like horde of flies to get through walls and all sorts of stuff. It's creepy. It's fascinating too because it's first person. So it's like the last one. It is tailor made for the VR experience.
Really? Oh, dude, I don't think I could play a Resident Evil game in VR.
Yeah, no.
I'm too jumpy when I'm playing Rick and Morty and I'm just shooting those fly people.
I about pooped my pants playing that Batman game.
In VR?
Yeah.
Does Joker jump out at you?
Croc.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Killer Croc just comes out of the water and is like, ah.
Well, it's this weird. I mean, I can spoil what happens, but
well, by the time you played it, it was 4 years old, so it should be fine.
So what happens is like you're in this room, in the asylum,
right?
And it's just that cold white tile walls, and you're kind of like looking around, like, what do I do? And like the way to move forward is you have to like look away all the way to the left, and then you got to look all the way to the right. When you look to the right, again, it's in VR, so it looks like Killer Croc's head is 4 feet tall, and it's right there.
Oh,
yeah. No, and I literally jumped and went, ah!
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I think I told you guys, maybe it was when Jefferson was still on the show, but my first VR experience was with like the Oculus, the PC version that you play on Steam. And I don't remember the title of the game, but it was this game where like it was like a on track shooter where you had to shoot robots. And like when you had your guns, you would use the controller and you would press the thing, and then when you wanted to reload, you would drop the guns and then grab new ones from here. Like you'd have to actually manually.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then eventually get a shotgun and you pull it from behind you, so you'd have to do that with the controller in order to reload and get another one.
You have to figure out just what that movement is,
right?
Whatever it's trying to detect, where you can just reload your shot.
The very first thing it does is you're standing like on the street with these robots and these people, and you're watching like television and through this store window, and the television has this news report about the fact that robots are going mad and starting to kill everybody.
Oh.
And then all the robots, like all their eyes turn red and they all turn and face you, and then they jump at you.
Creepy.
And I was like, ah! It was my first VR experience. I was like, well, that was mean.
I'm about to be robo-raped.
Oh, no.
It is super, back to Resident Evil though, it is super creepy because when you're fighting the werewolf guys, you're fighting them in like a cornfield.
Oh.
So like you can kind of make out where they are, but then they come lunging at you through the cornfield. And then when you're in the castle, you're in like a dungeon area, and I clearly remember because it was just a day or two ago, but there's a door that's down a dark hallway, and that door opens and you hear something and you're like, oh no, like I have to go that way.
You're like, son of
but
a
as
bitch.
soon as I do, something's coming out of that goddamn door. It's also fascinating. So one of my friends brought up when I was telling them about it last night that you think of the very first Resident Evil and how it was like this series of
I try not to.
Almost top-down views, and you moved your character around.
Yeah, it's almost like you're watching through security cameras.
Yeah.
And you're controlling the characters go through the
And
rooms.
then when they got to Resident Evil 4, they moved it to like a third-person view, and they did that for I think 4, 5, and 6, and then the last two are completely first-person. And like first-person games are more of a North American thing than a Japanese thing. So it's kind of amazing that they decided to, no, you know what, first person is the way to go. We can really spook the hell out of people.
They probably know they can terrify you.
Right.
Well, what'd you think of the demo? Like, you all in? You gonna be playing when the full version comes out?
The full version comes out this week, and I'm certainly not going to be buying it day one, but I'm definitely interested to play it.
But if Epic Games decides to throw down some cash, they put it up for free,
Right,
you're
put
going
it
to
up for free,
download and play.
I'm there.
I got it.
I'm there, 100%. That game goes on sale for like $20.
Well, hell, if it's free, I'm there. I'm just not going to play it.
You're going to download it.
It's like
but
the
you're
one
not gonna
thing
play
that gets Al's attention. Oh, free? Yes, I will take one.
I have a cheap ass.
But you're going to have to pay $5. No. Just keep it.
No, I don't care then. Well, the other thing that I've gotten to experience over the last couple of days was Invincible on Amazon Prime. Me and Amy watched the first couple episodes. I told you guys about it, I think last week or the week before. And I was like, "That's pretty good. It's got a great voice cast. A bunch of people that I'm like, oh, this his girlfriend is the girl that played Domino in the Deadpool movies, and J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man, his dad, and that's really cool to hear." But they've been releasing the episodes weekly, and the last one was this past weekend. So we just gunned through like the back half of the season. It's an 8-episode series. Each of the episodes around 40-45 minutes.
Wow, I didn't realize the episodes would be that long. I figured you're looking at 20 to 30.
I am simultaneously impressed and horrified by the final episode of the show.
Really?
This show is a horror show disguised as a superhero show.
Really?
Because the violence is so violent in this show. Like the first episode is great because it's this like coming of age story. Like the kid Mark gets his powers and tells his dad Omni-Man, who's like Superman. They're like, "Hey, I got my powers." And his dad like, "Great, now we can train together." And then gets his costume and everything. You're like, "Oh, that's cool." And then there's a twist at the end of the episode that is horrendously violent. That also like makes you go, well, now I got to watch more of this. I got to know why that happened.
Why did Dad kill him to
And-
take his powers like Highlander?
And then every episode has some like horrendous violence in it. At one point, Amy looked at me during the last episode and said, I think this is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
Wow, is that crazy, huh?
Yeah. And it's
This is on Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime.
Might have to pop on and check
Yeah,
this
which
out.
of course is where The Boys is too.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess Seth Rogen was involved in as an executive producer of this show. He's also part of the voice cast.
Oh, is he?
He does a character in it. It's hilarious.
Must have keep that in mind.
It is worth a look. It is absolutely, and it's fascinating to me too because I never read the comics. It's a Robert Kirkman, the guy who does The Walking Dead, and I'm not a Robert
I've always
Kirkman
seen this
fan.
character, the Invincible character, because he's like the blue and yellow, right?
Mhm.
Like blue and yellow with weird glasses, maybe.
Yeah, he's got some goggles.
So like before I met you guys, like back in the day, like just my grocery store days, there was a guy that I worked with who was a big fan of that. That character. I didn't know anything about it, but he also knew more about comics than anything. Like I just knew, Superman, Batman, like the basics.
Yeah.
And then he was like schooling me on all these different things, and I never really realized that. I always thought that character was just like somebody nobody ever has ever heard of. Nobody else
Yeah.
has heard of him.
Well, like it was
And
an
now it's a cartoon.
It was an Image comic. It was
Yeah.
over at Image Comics, and then Robert
Which is
Kirkman's
bigger now.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman's
but-
Walking Dead made them, Fortnite money.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the same time, Robert Kirkman just made you a bunch of money.
Right.
Do whatever you want, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made him a partner. He's the
Wow.
only person that's a partner that's not one of the founders.
Wow.
Like Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson and Jim Lee was a founder. Were all like there from the beginning, and they were all equal partners in the company. He's the one that they're like, well, you just made us a ton of money. Why don't you?
Have a seat at the big boy table, Mr. Kirkman.
Yeah, exactly.
Right here on the golden throne.
But yeah, I'm not a Kirkman fan, but now I have to go back and read the comics. Like I have to go to my local
gotcha.
comic store and get the comics because
Gotcha.
I have no concept of like how close it is to the comics.
Mhm.
And I want to find out that the comic is garbage and that the show was great. Like they took
What happens if you realize like you enjoyed the show, the ending or whatever was
Right.
kind of effy or crazy, but then you read these comics and you like realize, oh my god, these comics are so good.
I'm gonna be so upset. I'm gonna be as upset as Al Beck would be to find out he likes a Grant Morrison book.
It'll never happen.
According to Robert Kirkman, too, he's got a rough story plan for 5 to 7 seasons of the show. And Amazon announced, like, right when they put the last episode out, that they've already okayed 2 more seasons.
Huh.
Wow.
So it's going to get at least 3 seasons.
I'm impressed when somebody can be like, you know what, I have enough stories up here
Yeah.
to give you 5 seasons.
I couldn't help myself while we were watching it. I had to pull up the Wikipedia and start reading, like, what happens in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in these 8 episodes of the show covers around the first, like, maybe 18 issues of 100 and something issue
Oh, wow.
series. Like he just ended it a year or 2 ago, and like 120, 130 issues. So there's plenty of story, but it's also the way the series plays out. It's hard to imagine. Like if I was reading it, like where do you go from here?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, amazing.
I wonder if they'll do it a little more controlled than they did with, like, say, Walking Dead. Because Walking Dead's still going, isn't it, on TV?
I think it is.
I think
Yeah,
so,
I
yeah.
think they're
I don't know.
they're
lost.
heading into their last season, either this
good.
year or next year.
But, like, and they blew a lot on their first episode. Their first episode was 6 months worth of comics.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, and then people were all upset when it got to the farm and it slowed down and it started taking on the pace of the comic book.
Right.
And it was, they kind of did the Game of Thrones thing where all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're out of comics now. We got to kind of make up our own thing.
I remember when I was working at the anime store, the Naruto cartoon was just coming out over in Japan, and we would sell the like fan subbed DVDs of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran into the same thing because the anime was based off the manga, the Japanese comic, and like they blew through all of the manga in like the first year and a half.
Oh wow!
And we're like, oh no, now we have
Pace
to
yourself.
now we have to buy time.
Yeah. Well, I remember Walking Dead in the early seasons, like, they basically did the governor twice.
Yeah,
Like, I remember.
they had to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, they had a character come out, and I was like, oh, man, like, this is the governor. They're just not doing the governor.
Yep.
And then they did the governor in the next season.
Right.
And then, like, they always kind of said that Negan was, like, the second coming of the governor. So you could really argue they did the governor 3 times in the show.
Yeah, I guess.
That
was the last episode of Walking Dead I watched, was when they brought Negan in. Because I was like, okay, I know what's supposed to happen here. What's going to happen in the show? And then it happened.
Yeah.
Like how about Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
I do
Glenn.
like that Jeffrey Dean Morgan guy.
Yeah.
I'd seen him in a couple of things, and I was stoked when I found out he was going to be Negan, because Negan is a fun character.
He is, and it's fascinating. You read all the books, right?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating how they tried to like redeem him as the books went on. He went from being like the ultimate bad guy and this heartless bastard to like, there's a reason. And you know, if he's the guy you want on your side, but not up against you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Invincible, worth a watch. If you got Amazon Prime, definitely check it out. But be warned, it's extremely violent.
Is it violent all the way through, or just that last episode?
No, every episode has some it's the kind of thing that you would imagine if Superman punched a guy, like his head would explode.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what happens in
So
these.
they're taking like real life physics that would happen with like superheroes
Right.
and putting it in a cartoon form. What is it, like an animation style you could relate it to? Like if
It's weird because I'd mentioned this to Amy while we were watching it. The last episode had almost a manga or a Japanese anime style to it. But the show actually, and that's maybe why the body horror stuff is so horrific. The show, the art style reminds me of like the X-Men Evolution cartoon.
Okay.
Like the way the characters are designed reminds me of, you know, like a cartoon that was made for kids. But this
someone had to look into this one.
Yeah, I think you'll appreciate it. I think it's fascinating, honestly. I enjoy the other characters because there's a whole superhero universe around him. You meet in the second episode, you meet essentially what's the Teen Titans of that universe. The first episode, you meet what's essentially the Justice League of that universe. Like every episode, there's somebody, even Seth Rogen's character is like, oh, he's an analog to Martian Manhunter. Okay, this makes sense, kind of thing. I would absolutely recommend checking it out. And I recommend you guys at home check us out on social media at NerdRadio 101.
Why?
And because you post so much on there, and I want people to see it.
It's exhausting.
And check us out on Twitch on Wednesday afternoons at Checkpoint XP's Twitch. Check out all the shows that they've got as well. They've got a lot of entertaining stuff. We'll be back to entertain you with more stories of James milking procedures and Price is Right music in the background.
I milk the best with Price is Right music in the background.
Yeah.
I produce the best milk.
Is that
There's more nutrients.
That's the peak times when Price is Right is on?
Or at any time the music's playing.
Between
so like,
noon and
we gotta wrap this up because I'm lactating. I'm starting to drip.
Oh, so it's like Pavlovian.
Yeah,
you hear
like
the Price is Right
the music
and,
plays and my body starts kicking those nutrients right out my nips.
And then your favorite shirt is ruined.
Yes, well, one of my favorites.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in to Nerd Radio.
We're going to need to get that puddle bitch back in here.
Get that puddle taken care of.
Yeah, there's a milk puddle down here.
Where's my puddle? Oh, I didn't.
I'm in a
There it
difficult
is.
situation here. I mean, after all, we're nerds.
This Transformer is cool.
Have a great weekend.
See you later, nerds.
The future's stupid, guys. I'm sorry, but it is.
I have spoken.